What is going on, Z community cuties? I know you're looking at the title right now and you're like, whoa, either this guy's trying to scam me or this guy's actually telling the truth. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm actually telling you guys the truth right now. And to give you a little bit more context, I'm about, I would say, 4 months into my 9 to 5 right now. And it's like each single paycheck that I was getting, I noticed that they were taking a pretty big chunk out of the paycheck towards taxes. Now, believe it or not, these guys were taking 23% of what I was actually supposed to be getting, and most of it was going towards taxes. So what did I do? I'm about to tell you guys, so make sure you stay tuned. Alright, so after doing some research, I ended up finding the T1213 form on the Government of Canada website. Now, what is this form? This form is essentially called, what is it called again? It's the request to deduct taxes at the source or something along those lines. But basically what this thing allows you to do, you fill out the form, you submit it to the Government of Canada, and you basically tell them, hey guys, I want you to stop taking so much from me in terms of taxes because I need to allocate this to other places. Essentially, these other places per se can be a variety of different things, whether those are RRSP deductions, just donations, a lot of different things that can really benefit you at the end of the day, and you can make use of that money that you would otherwise be paying in tax. Now, I'm going to link this form in the description below in case you guys do want to reference it or even want to actually fill it out and submit it later. But let me actually break this down a little bit further so that you know what you're getting yourself into. So there's a couple of things that you actually need to know before thinking about submitting this form in the first place. First things first is you have to know how much you make on an annual basis. The next thing that you need to know is how much of your paycheck is going towards taxes. Now, usually whenever you pull up your paycheck or your pay stub, whatever the case may be, you're going to notice that there's mainly 3 divisions. The first one is EI, the second one is CPP, and the third one, which is where you're going to focus on, is tax. This is the only thing that you could actually potentially reduce, but when it comes down to CPP and EI, I have still yet to do research on how to get rid of those. And the last thing that you need to know is what is your plan for if you actually get approved for this request? Where are you going to allocate the money that you'll be getting back from these taxes? Where are you going to use them? So there are a couple of things that you could do with the money that you could potentially get back from your taxes, and the first one is the RRSP deductions. Now, this is just a fancier way of saying, hey guys, if you guys give me back this money that you're taking from taxes, I'll actually deposit this into my RRSP consistently, depending on the amount that you're really asking for. Let's just take a simple example where, taxes that are being taken from my paycheck are $100 every 2 weeks. But I'm like, you know what? I'd rather actually put this to use, and I would rather deposit $100 into my RRSP instead of it being taken away from taxes. Another potential way that you can use this money that you'd be getting back are donations. Now, these could be donations to either a charity that's actually registered with the Government of Canada, or it could be donations to a specific political party. Whether you're, rooting for the Green Party, the Liberal Party, Québécois, whatever you're about, you could basically make donations to this political party or charity, and you could do that with this form. Now, another factor that you could use these taxes that'll potentially come back to you is carrying charges and interest on investment loans. Now, when it comes down to this, there's a lot more details that actually need to be broken down. If you guys want me to make a video on this, let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll make a separate video just for carrying charges and interest on investment loans and how you could benefit from it when it comes down to tax season. Another few categories to mention, which I'm gonna go very briefly about because it doesn't apply to me personally, but there's childcare expenses and then there's support payments. Now, when it comes down to childcare expenses, this is more or less if you have a kid, you're spending on, food, diapers, daycare, whatever the case may be, you could actually request that you get that tax money back from your paychecks and then allocate it towards, your kid basically. And then when it comes down to support payments, this could be spousal support payments, in the case where your wife or your husband or whatever the case may be, they don't work and you're actually the one who spends on them and you basically give them their income. There's also child support, in situations where there's some sort of agreement between split partners where one has to actually pay for the child. You can also request that you get these tax monies back, and then use them to basically pay your child support. Another factor, which is actually pretty ironic, are employment expenses. Now, in certain situations, there are employers who will pay for certain expenses, such as, internet, phone bills, whatever the case may be. But then there are some companies who are a little bit stingy and they don't really pay for everything you need to get the job done. In this type of situation, you could request that you get that tax money back from your paycheck and then use that money to pay for whatever expenses you need to get the job done. Again, you could use it to claim against phone expenses, internet, whatever the case may be. You could use that tax money and then allocate it towards over there. But first things first, you need to make sure from your employer if you can actually expense these or not, because you don't want to go through that entire process and then find out like, oh, true, this was in my contract the whole time. Another allocation that you could look into are medical expenses. Whether those are prescriptions or whatever treatments, whatever the case may be, you can request that you get that tax money back and be like, hey guys, I'm gonna be spending, X amount per month, and I'm gonna need this money from this paycheck that's going towards taxes to go towards the medical expenses. There are 3 more factors that you could actually use this tax money for, and to be honest, I don't really think it'll apply to me and probably not for a lot of us, but clergy residence, which I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what it means, but it has to do with something about, church. So I'm like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Then we have the RPP, buying back contributions. Now think of an RRP as an RRSP. Now basically the only difference between an RRSP and an RRP is that an RRP is when your employer is actually managing what investments are going into your portfolio, where the RRSP is when you're calling the shots. You can basically say with an RRSP, okay, I want stock X, I want ETF Y, so on and so forth. Whereas with an RRP, it's your employer that's basically saying, okay, we're taking this money and we're gonna put it here, we're gonna put it here, we're gonna put it here. You're most likely gonna see this with companies that have like a buyback program or like a matching program or just an ESOP, which is the employment stock purchasing plan or something along those lines, where basically some portion of your money gets to go towards like their stock or something. Another factor that you could do with this potential tax money that's coming back to you are foreign tax credits. Now this is only applicable to you if you have investments overseas or even across the border. Then you could use this tax money and use it as like a tax credit essentially. Now I'm not sure if a lot of you guys watching this have investments overseas or across the border, but if you do and you want me to kind of touch up on this a little bit more, again, guys, just let me know in the comment section down below. Videos coming out for you super soon. And then they have this little section at the very bottom called Other, and this is really where all of these students are going to come in. Now you could use the tax that you're going to be getting back from your paycheck, and then you could actually use this towards your tuition amounts, your textbook amounts, or even when it comes down to your living costs. Like if you're going to be moving away from home and going close to your university, there's a bunch of different things that you could really do with these tax credits, and I just think they're amazing and you really need to take advantage of them if you can. After going through all of these different factors and you realize that you could actually use one or more of these types of different, expenses, then the first thing you need to do is fill out the form that you see in the description below. After you fill out this form, there's actually 2 ways that you can now go about this. Because with this form, you kind of have to write up something else. This something else is literally just a breakdown of the plan, how you decide to allocate the money that you would get back from these taxes. Let's just throw it back to the example to kind of make it super simple for you guys to see. Let's just say every 2 weeks, I look at my paycheck and, my company is taking $100 away from taxes. Or I'm gonna say in this case, the actual government itself. So I'm gonna say, okay, I wanna get this $100 back, but I have to have some sort of game plan. So, after filling out this form, I'm then going to make a separate document and I'm essentially going to give them the breakdown of what I'm going to do with this $100 every 2 weeks. So I'm going to say, you know what guys, $50 of this $100 is going to go towards RRSP contributions, whereas the other $50 is going to go towards donations to X charity or X political organization, whatever the case may be. Now, if you're in a situation where you're kind of making auto deposits for these things already and it's kind of been on your radar, then what you would do is just attach like a proof of this auto deposit with your form and then with your kind of breakdown as to how you're going to do this. But if you're planning to start doing auto deposits or you still haven't started making these contributions or donations yet, then you would basically specify in a little sentence and tell them, I have not started this yet, but as soon as I get accepted, then I will begin making these consistent contributions. And one big thing that I really need to tell you guys, we're dealing with the CRA here. So if you tell them that you're gonna do one thing and then you're gonna end up doing another, they're gonna know, they're gonna catch you. So make sure that everything you say you follow on a consistent basis, or else it's gonna really fall back on you. And when tax season comes along, you're gonna be paying a lot. Bringing this back to really the main topic of this video, I legally do not pay taxes anymore because I filled out this form and I made sure I gave them a solid breakdown as to what I'm going to do with this money. I actually just got approved about 2 weeks ago, and everything's looking all solid and everything's looking all fancy. I did also want to mention that you do have to mail this form out. So as soon as you fill it out, you have to print it, put it in an envelope, 1960 style, submit it into your mailbox or whatever, and then give it 8 to 12 weeks. I know it's kind of crazy, but at the time, maybe it's because of COVID times or whatever, it did take a little bit longer, but just give them a few weeks or a few months in this case, and chances are they're going to mail you back some sort of letter, either approving or declining your request. And that's pretty much it when it comes down to how I got to this point. If you guys do have any questions, be sure that you leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I'm more than happy to help out, guys. All right, Z Community Cuties, I'll catch you guys next week.